Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. You see their website right there. Every year it seems folks are coming up with new ways to automate our homes. Lights, audio, video systems, heat and air, everything runs from your phone or your tablet. Nobody can set you up better and turn your house into a Jetsons household. Boy, I'm dating myself right there. There are people that heard that and went, what's the Jetsons? Nobody can turn your home into the bridge of Star Trek. Go there, maybe they'll know that. Like Safety Systems. VFL JJ Surlis is the guy to call. They'll take care of you. You'll have a space-age home. We'll just leave it at that. Safety Systems, they do great work, whether it's home security, home entertainment, or home automation. And offices. They do it for your business as well. Safety Systems. Okay. Over the years, I've had a lot of Tennessee fans say to me, well, Texas doesn't suffer any fools. Texas. Just last week when Rick Barnes lost, the people were like, now you see why Texas fired him. Everybody likes Texas because they've got the huge money and they're quick trigger, man. They get rid of you. They're not waiting for you to fall off the cliff. None of this mediocrity stuff. And they'll go out and they target the best names. Why can't Tennessee do that? Why doesn't Tennessee go spin and get Shaka Smart? Why doesn't Tennessee go get Tom Herman? Well, let's take a look at how well it's going for Texas, just to prove that nobody's got all the answers. Shaka Smart, in case you missed it, he just beat the posse out of town and left for Marquette this week. He was the hottest name in the country when they signed him. 6 seasons he was there. His winning percentage was about 14% less than Rick Barnes. Conference titles, none. He did win a conference title, a conference tournament title, which obviously meant so much he had to head out of town 20 days after winning it. NCAA tournaments, he went to 3 as opposed to 16, and he didn't win a single game there. For all the talk of, well, Rick Barnes is only 19-16, beats 0-3. And in terms of Final Fours, Rick Barnes, for all the talk about Texas and their brilliance, well, he only went to 1 Final Four. That's the only Final Four Texas has ever been to. Nobody else has ever gotten them there. And if you think it's just basketball, it's not. Take a look at what they did with Mack Brown in football. Mack Brown, and then you followed him up with Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, the names that everybody wanted at the time. Look at the record. From 77% winning to 53% winning. 3 losing seasons as opposed to 1. Conference titles, none. National titles, none. And the interesting thing there about Mack Brown is people forget he just won a conference title and was coming off his second national championship game appearance. He was just 4 years off of that. He hadn't even gone a full recruiting class since making a national championship game when they fired him. And it hasn't worked out. I'm not saying this to bash Texas, but there's this idea that, why can't we be more like Texas? Texas clearly doesn't have all the answers. And you've been in the Big 12. The interesting thing, if there's a program in the country that should be set up in terms of wealth, in terms of name, in terms of owning a state, it's Texas. And yet the fire them if they have a mediocre season, go buy the next guy, that stuff hasn't worked yet.
It hasn't, and there's a lot of frustration around Texas. Fortunately, they have a gigantic endowment. Their athletic department makes a lot of money, the most in the country. Money can't buy you wins. I mean, that's the thing. Texas has been that way for a long time, but if you look through history, Oklahoma's been more historically successful through a number of regimes and administrations and all those things. And, if you try to look into the why, I mean, if I had a good answer to that, I might be running Texas right now. So, but yeah, I mean, money can't solve everything. Throwing buyout money can't solve everything. And, what does, I'm not sure, but I know that is not the simplest approach. Believe me, the frustration in Texas is as intense, if not more so, than in Tennessee, because they have all of these natural advantages, recruiting, money, all these things, and they still can't really get to where they want to be.
They should be Ohio State, basically. Ohio State's good in everything. They're always good in everything.
Yes. Should be Clemson.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, they should be every bit as that, and they should be with Alabama and all these guys every year of, you're looking at 4 teams going, well, they're in here all the time. They should be in that level.
And I know that there will be a response to what I'm saying is, oh, well, so we're just supposed to accept mediocrity. No, you don't accept mediocrity. You're always striving to be better. But the best way to get there sometimes is to stick with what you've got and hope that you take a step forward with what's good, as opposed to, this is good, it's not great, so fire it and start again. as you found at Tennessee, sometimes the good becomes bad. So you don't go from good to great. Now you're having to go from bad to great, or as the current state is, from horrible to great, from nuclear Holland, from Chernobyl to great. Vince, your thoughts on just what Texas says to you? Do you take any information from that and say, okay, there's a lesson to be learned here that maybe this doesn't work, or am I looking at it wrong?
No, I think the lesson is that where are the sure things? You know, there's big names out there. Remember in basketball, Anthony Grant was the guy. Went to Alabama, that didn't work out. So there's plenty of other examples in those two most profitable sports in basketball and football to where the big name hires haven't worked out. Chip Kelly had a great resume. That hadn't worked out at UCLA.
Everybody wanted him here.
Right, exactly. And even Charlie Strong, who was on your list there, everybody wanted him at Tennessee, and I guess was close to doing it. So there just aren't very many sure things out there. There might only be one. Will mentioned in the break. Might just be Saban, and that's it. And you roll the dice. It has to all really come together, and the timing has to be right also.
I just think in the case of Barnes, I mean, you know, I get the frustration, the failures in March that he's had at Tennessee, the teams that didn't finish the way that you wanted. But, man, getting to number one, the rise in the regular season, having a competent team, I think you can't underrate that. And I think the odds of if people are like, oh, you know, you got to get rid of it, the odds that it gets a lot worse are significantly higher than they get better. If you say, oh, we've had enough of Barnes, we got to go get Phil Jackson. I'm sure he's not busy.
Yeah, now Philip Fulmer, your old coach, his decline was a little longer and a little steeper than Mack Brown's, but still, things didn't get better after Philip Fulmer. Now, part of that, if Lane Kiffin hadn't fled in the night after 1 year, how does it turn out? We'll never know because he fled in the night after 1 year.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, you can almost tell that Philip Fulmer wouldn't have gone through a Pruitt-type record, and he would have gone through a Dooley experience like that. I mean, he would have been better and be able to do something. There is something consistency of once you do find your guys. You saw that both Barnes and Mack were 16 years, and then they had a slip, and they didn't give them a chance to recover it, and they sent them on their way. And then you go through a bunch of stuff because there are not that many guys that can truly build a program and be consistent for a number of years. There's one-time flashes, and then that's it. So, you know, if you ever do find one of those again, hopefully at Tennessee, we stick with them for a long, long time because, as we've seen, it's painful.
It's just, I don't know, I think talk radio jumped it to another level. I'm old enough to where I remember when it wasn't fire the coach all the time. I mean, when I was a kid, there were bumper stickers that said, go Johnny go and take DeVoe. And, you know, well, if that had happened at that point, you wouldn't have won the Sugar Bowl. You wouldn't have won 2 SEC titles under majors. You know, and you went years and years without an NCAA tournament berth once you got rid of DeVoe. But for the most part, it then took to another level with talk radio. And I think social media has just shot it off the charts that everyone thinks this year should be a national championship at my school in every sport. And if it's not, fire somebody. I don't know how it went to that. I don't think that's a good place to be, though. Now, that doesn't mean, well, we went 5-7, take it and be smart. That's not what I'm saying. So don't run it to the other extreme, which is already on Twitter, I guarantee you. But the idea that every year has to be the home run, it just doesn't work that way. And you can ask Texas, who throws money left and right, and they're not able to go buy success. Unless somebody's buying Nick Saban, there's no clear ticket.
And you don't know what you got till it's gone. I mean, Mack, when he got fired from Texas, he couldn't really get interviews. He's stuck doing TV. North Carolina gives him a chance. Turns out maybe he can coach a little bit. And, you know, you look at Tom Herman, you look at Charlie Strong, you know, those guys, if you had to pick now what program or what guy you'd want running your program, how many people are taking Mack now and they wouldn't have 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Things changed. Guys that have done it have done it.
Yeah. All right. Thought that was interesting this week. When we come back, so what should we expect from football attendance this fall in the SEC? If everything is wide open, if it's open capacity across the league, does that mean everybody's just going to come out and it's going to be record-setting attendance, or maybe not? We'll discuss that. Come on back on the Sports Switch.